and epic podcasts. Podcast, I should say, without the S. No plural. Deserves epic music to open. And speaking of epic things, coming to an epic show like mine. Well, compared to another show like the Dogwater podcast over there at the Late Night Pod, where he's talking about something that happened in the 1960s, which is irrelevant, and always will be. Especially, like, what's new is not, or what's old is not new again. That's just preposterous to think about. Oh, what's old is new again, so we need to look at this. Or, oh, we need to read some book about some godforsaken wrestler that practically 90% of you have never even heard of. Like, I'm sure that there's no 50-year-old guys, 60-year-old women, that demographic, according to my analytics, who are listening to my show, who want to hear about, the Junkyard Dog. Nobody really cares. I'm sorry to break your heart, Brandon, and I have enough respect for you to not, fluff your name. I mean, I'm assuming that either you can't read or you just can't speak the name Mocha. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Mocha. This is the Gut Wrench Podcast. Thank you all so much for joining me this week. This week we will be looking at the Revolution 2023 pay-per-view. I held off on some, if not all, of social media just so that I wouldn't spoil most of, if not any of, the matches that we are about to look at here at this show, provided that my phone doesn't turn off again. It's not that it's turning off, it's just that it's on low power mode because it's on 50% power, and I'm having a tremendous time trying to get it to charge, if you will, because it doesn't want to charge. Revolution 2023, the crowd electrically chanting AEW in unison. AEW partners with DraftKings, and you could win your share of $25,000 if you could guess, and I put guess in air quotes because if you know a formula to finding out professional wrestling, it's the fact that they kind of feed you the answers. They kind of, but they don't. But they feed you the answers just a little bit. Take, for instance, this DraftKings commercial, which has Cool Hand Luke on it. I thought that was kind of funny. But this DraftKings commercial where the host says, you could win your share of up to $25,000, which basically means that you could win like $600 or $800 out of like a share of $25,000. And my guess is once the pool is gone from the money, or once they just get tired of, once they see their money dwindling down, like DraftKings, they're just going to be like, oh man, we're down to like $7,000 now. What do you want to do with it? Oh, let's keep it. You know what I mean? But anyway, I'm getting off topic. Cool Hand Luke was in this commercial, and the lady literally almost gives you the answer. She's like, will MJF use the Diamond Mind ring, or whatever it is that he's got, that fucking ring that he's always using in all of his matches? And it's almost a dead giveaway. He's going to attempt to use it tonight. Or will he use it successfully? Or will they have creative writing that you didn't see coming? Next week, also, speaking of your share of $25,000, I will be giving away $200. That's 200. I will be giving away $200 to one lucky contestant, participant, listener. And that could be you, Brandon. Maybe you're so broke that you need a handout from me. Maybe. And next week, after next week, so 2 weeks from next week, I will be giving out $400. And the week after that, I will be giving away $800. No, this is not a joke. This is not a prank. This is not something that I just thought up. Oh, yeah, some false advertisement, ladies and gentlemen, is against the law. So therefore, me stating that I will be doing giveaways over the next couple weeks could incriminate me if, and only if, I decide to not deliver on said promise. So, will I incriminate myself? Or am I not telling a lie? Like George Washington? Like Abraham Lincoln? Nonetheless, how you could get rich all of a sudden, why am I thinking of quitting my job? Now, what exactly is the motivation a man learned how to get rich so fast? I really can't answer these questions on air. That's right. So I can't tell you how I got rich so fast. Maybe I invested in the stock market. Maybe I got lucky off of a scratcher. Maybe my dad sent me money in Oklahoma, even though my dad doesn't live in Oklahoma, but that's neither here nor there, and that's not the point, and I still haven't even started the show. So, why are you asking so many questions, Bobby? Now, I will be giving away this money via PayPal or via Cash App. More than likely Cash App. So if you do not have a Cash App, I would suggest that you get a Cash App. If you have a PayPal and you end up winning, it might take a significantly longer amount for you to receive your money, because at the time that I'm recording this, I am dirt poor, broke, as far as Cash App goes, PayPal. But I can move the money, you just gotta give me time. Our opening contest, the Jericho Appreciation Society, is banned from ringside. The Chris Jericho's, the crowd. Okay, so for some reason my notes here, it says the collarbone is, as always, singing the Chris Jericho's theme song, which makes no sense. Collarbones don't sing Chris Jericho's theme song. It's supposed to be the crowd in unison singing Chris Jericho's theme song. On his way to the ring, Jericho has a smug look on his face at 3 minutes and 16 seconds in, which is funny because it's almost 3:16. It's almost 3:16 day. But I remember because I was watching it last night, right? And I paused on his face and I took a picture of it with my phone, and that man knows he's getting paid. He doesn't care. He's listening to these people singing his theme song, and then he's like, that's right, drink it in, you sheep. Chris Jericho versus Ricky Stark. They talk about Jericho, how he lost 3 matches in a row and one against Ricky Stark. One of those 3 that he lost was against Ricky Stark, which was like last week. And one of those was against Castagnoli, the Ring of Honor World Champion. Excalibur says that this hasn't happened to Chris Jericho in 6 years, And I put a note here that says, I guess Jericho hasn't put over younger talent for a good while. Really could be seen as a bad thing. If you think about it, it gives him somewhat of a Hulk Hogan reputation. So Hulk Hogan would always have these clauses in his contract, for those of you who are unaware. And the clause in his contract would state that he gets to have creative control over what happens in most of the wrestling matches that he would wrestle. And he would claim that he would only use it whenever he felt it was necessary. He said once before that he only used it one time in WCW, and that was whenever he took on Jeff Jarrett for the television championship, I think it was, on a WCW pay-per-view. But everyone else seems to have a different story than Hogan. A triangle drop kick spot, when Jericho gets a drop kick from the second rope, a dueling chants for Ricky Stark, Let's Go Ricky, and Y2J. Ricky goes for the spear, Jericho catches him in midair and hits a code breaker, pins only to get a near fall, a 2 count. Ricky hits another spear only to get a near fall. Some of the people in the crowd look bored to death, but others look like they're enjoying themselves. They're having a fantastic time. But there's sometimes it'll pan over to the crowd, and then you'll see some old dude, and then he'll just be sitting there, looking at the floor, and it's like, dude, why'd you pay for a ticket? He's like, this ain't what I signed up for. Oh, the download that I had must have been cut off at some point. And in the match, around 16 minutes and 30 seconds in, all I can see is it has a message that says scrambled channel. And after it comes back on what I last seen was Ricky Stark going for what seemed to be a moonsault on Jericho. Afterwards, I get the scrambled channel message, and whenever it comes back, Jericho has Ricky Stark in the walls of Jericho. Not sure how we went from Jericho being on the ground, getting ready to take a moonsault, to a walls of Jericho on his opponent. JR, hell of a counter into a single leg crab, which is also a submission maneuver. The Hall of Fame voice of wrestling, ladies and gentlemen, JR, because he says a hell of a counter into a single crab, which is also a wrestling maneuver, or a submission maneuver. Thank you, JR. If you didn't say that, I wouldn't have known that. Psh. Aubrey Edwards was distracted by Sammy Guevara, was outside, despite the Appreciation Society being banned from ringside. Guevara was being tackled by Action D'Ever. They say his name once, and then that's about it, so I'm not exactly sure who it was that tackled, because you never really see his face. All you can see, it looks like Dante to me, but I don't think it's Dante. Stark wins, and I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was a beautiful contest, and I enjoyed it so much, and the audience seemed to enjoy it as well. Yeah, the audience seemed to like they were having a lot of fun watching this one. Next, we go to our next contest, which is a casket match / final burial match. There is no disqualification. the only rule in this match is that you must lock your opponent in a casket as Christian Cage faces off against Jungle Boy Jack Perry. The funny part about this contest right here was the fact that I watched a Twitter video, and it must have been on AEW's Twitter page. Jungle Boy Jack Perry recently made a statement where he said that he was going to win a singles championship in the year 2023. You want to know what Christian had to say about that? Over my dead body. So they're having a final burial match because over his dead body. They just take promos way too seriously, I swear. I'm not sure if he did it on purpose, but Taz said that's the way Christian rolls. In Impact Wrestling back in 2003 or 2005, maybe 2007, was so long ago that I forgot. I forgot the year and I can't be bothered to look it up. The point is, Christian used to say as... So, in his promos back in Impact Wrestling, Christian used to say, and that's how I roll. Like that, like very emphatically, very, to the point. It was almost like he would end all of his promos by saying, and that's how I roll. So, whenever Taz said that for whatever reason, they were talking about, hey, Christian seems to be getting himself into a lot of trouble as of late, and Taz brings it up on commentary, and then he says that's just the way that Christian rolls. So I'm not sure whether or not he did it on purpose or not, but he made a reference to Christian's TNA Impact lineage, if you will. Christian tries his damnedest to run away from Jack Perry, who seems to have all the momentum coming into this match. Christian Cage, in between his eyes, is cut and he starts bleeding. I'm not sure how he got the wound. He is bleeding. Jack Perry trying to hurt Christian's arm by jumping on it, but Christian moves out of the way and trips him onto the steel steps. Christian Cage is beating Jungle Boy Jack Perry like the proverbial red-headed stepchild because he takes his belt off. He takes Jack Perry's belt off, and then afterwards he starts wailing him with, his own belt. The funny part is, Jungle Boy Jack Perry is like right in front of his sister, and his mom have like a front row seat, and Christian's talking shit to his sister and his mom, basically saying how much of a loser he is, how much he'll never amount to anything in this business, how much of a, just a poor excuse for a competitor that he is. And Christian is going full ham, and I'm talking HAM on Jungle Boy Jack Perry's mother and sister. Jack Perry, the casket used as a weapon at one point. I try to list all of the weapons that were used in this contest. We had a shovel, a chair. Christian Cage threw dirt in the eyes of Jack Perry. Dug his index finger into his eye. I do apologize for the interruption, ladies and gentlemen, but as you know, I don't exactly have the amenity of having Big Boy over at the Big Boy podcast made fun of me for this, and it's frustrating at times, but I can't do anything about it. Someone came into the living room, so I had to shut down the recording. And if it happens again, I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen, for unfortunately having to stop the broadcast. The only thing that it's doing is it's delaying at around what this podcast ends, because I'm not going to stop. A list of weapons were brought into this match. He threw dirt in his eyes. He dug his index finger into his eyes. What Christian Cage did to Jack Perry. Christian Cage used the casket at one point of the match as a weapon. At one point of the match, he used a leather belt, a steel rafter barricade. And honestly, at the end of this match, I felt really good that Jack Perry honestly got over on Christian Cage, because I feel as though that he deserves it. The man works hard. 4 out of 5 stars. And as you can see, there's a little bit of consistency here, not just from me, but also from the caliber of match that they are willing to put on at the time that they put them on, in case you're not paying attention, because the first match was 3.5 out of 5 stars. The second match was 4 out of 5 stars. So if they keep on having great matches, then I'm going to keep giving them great ratings. Sorry, I had to find my computer charger. So I gave that match 4 out of 5 stars. This match was honestly one of the better contests, even though this is the only second match on the second match on the card. This match was 100 miles an hour. Was extremely entertaining to watch. I liked it. It seemed as though that the crowd liked it, was enjoying it as well. I started before next week. We will be giving away money, cash money, from in the form of PayPal or Cash App. Message me on Twitter for more information on how to win $200 next week. Only one person will be chosen, but next week, there could be more people chosen. What do you know? So next week, hit me up on Twitter. Listen for a word that will be said on next week's episode 3 times. 3 times get you money. Remember that. There will be a certain phrase, a certain word, that will get you paid. No catch. I'm not gonna make fun of your mom, unlike Brandon's mom. AEW World Trios Championship, and let me say before this one begins, I absolutely loved Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King. I loved the entrance. Oh my God, so beautiful. What a symphony that they brought out and Julia Hart too. Julia Hart came out with the almost looking like a mourning widow of some sort. Like she had lost one of her loved ones. She never smiles. I love it, man. Oh my god. Give me Julia Hart. Ooh, my god. Don Callis joins the commentary table for the Elite. Kenny Omega, Nick Jackson, and Matt Jackson, the champions. This is for the AEW World Trios Championships as Malachi Black, Buddy Matthews, and Brody King take on the Elite, Kenny Omega, Nick Jackson, and Matt Jackson. Don Callis joins the commentary table for this match, and he lit all of the team on commentary. Taz, Excalibur, and JR let them all know who the greatest wrestler in the world today is. Kenny Omega. He's not going to lose or fall victim to any House of Black shenanigans, any magic tricks. Yeah, they can pull no tricks out of their hat, is what he says, that Kenny Omega hasn't already seen. And for that matter, Don Callis is so funny. Or that Kenny Omega hasn't already dealt with, rather. The start of this match has a beautiful rally counter for counter as Buddy Matthews and Kenny Omega, as soon as one of them thinks that they've got the other one, like Omega, in a headlock, and then after that a side leg headlock takedown from Matthews, and then a rollover, a cover, a kip up into the shoulder block, and then the other Irish whip, and then into another Irish whip, into another leapfrog, into a standing press, or a standing switch, rather. And they're just going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, and no one's given an inch. Kenny Omega goes for the one-winged angel early on Malachi Black, sees it coming, jumps off of Omega's shoulders and tries to hit him with the fade to black spinning heel kick. Omega drops to his knees and sets Indian style in the middle of the ring, and Malachi Black joins him. They're both looking each other in the eyes, looking each other in the face, and I'm almost certain that Malachi Black takes some time. And he starts clapping a little bit, you know. It looks so good. Oh my god, just the transition from one to the next, to the other, to the in, to the out, to the up, to the down, to the left, to the right, you know. I mean, you couldn't choreograph a better wrestling match here. Matt Jackson does Kofi Kingston's Trouble in Paradise to Brody King. That's not what they call it, but they're like, oh my god, what an itaguri! You know, yeah, I've seen what he did. Super kick done to the Jackson brothers. Super kick done by the Jackson brothers, to a House of Black member on each corresponding side. I wasn't exactly sure who of the Jackson twins it was hitting who of the House of Black, because the camera has a weird time focusing, so I couldn't exactly tell you that it was Matt Jackson who hit Malachi Black, or whether it was Nick Jackson who hit Brody King or Buddy Matthews. Matt Jackson performs a sliced bread on Buddy Matthews, but to do so, he ran up Malachi Black as if he were a tree or the turnbuckle, then tried to hit Malachi Black with a super kick, but failed. Black countered. After 2 dragon snap suplexes, Julia Hart gets on the apron to try to stop Kenny Omega from hitting his Irish whip maneuver. He was looking to do the BTE trigger. Julia Hart provides a distraction because Kenny Omega doesn't want to hurt her, and he's telling her to get down from the ring apron because she's physically in his way. She's giving him this look of just pure disdain or disgust. Meanwhile, I don't think he realizes, because he hasn't turned around yet, Malachi Black, that he just turned his back on Malachi Black, made one of the worst mistakes you can make in professional wrestling. Malachi Black ducks to avoid the BTE trigger. Omega hits Julia Hart with the BTE trigger. Nick Jackson saves the match. He saves hits a beautiful spinning roundhouse kick. He calls the fade to black. And he ends up winning the contest. So we saw a new, god damn it, we saw a new AEW Trios Tag Team Champions being crowned here tonight. Will we see another new champion? And honestly, this match was fast pace. It was really good. A beautiful contest. Usually I don't say that. Usually I say that I hate multi-man matches, and it is true, but this match was honestly the exception, where I'm seeing 6 men put their heart on the line and in a competitive action, competitive environment, come together, and in all honesty, was beautiful contest. It deserves a beautiful score of 5 out of 5 stars. I loved every minute of it, and I feel as though that the crowd loved every minute of it, because you could literally, these people were just not silent at all, and you could hear the rumble, and then the clapping and the just everything epic, just like the beginning of this podcast whenever I played the epic music. Everything epic. Oh, and by the way, the music, I should preface this by saying it's from a mobile game called Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, and whenever you get your opponent down to about 900 life points, it starts going crazy with the music. It's like, oh shit, he's about to lose, and then it'll play this epic symphony of nothing but music. It's got like 3 or 4 tracks that it usually plays. It'll play one for you and then one for your opponent. But anyway, despite Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, who does not sponsor this podcast, by the way, why not? Master Duel, hit me up. Come on. I know I'm just a lowly... Wait, am I in silver? I'm in gold, yeah. But hit me up. A beautiful score. I loved every minute of it. And I feel as though that the crowd loved every minute of it as well. Not knowing who to cheer, because all 6 men are so goddamn good. But I still have one question. I hope Julia Hart... she did take the BTE trigger and fell off the ring apron. I hope that she's okay. Update. We got a new World Trios Tag Team Champions. As I was taking notes, so that I could... Oh, I paused it. It said I opposed it, and I don't know why. So that I could type on my notepad, and it turns out that Julia Hart is okay. She is standing with the... it's supposed to say House of Black, but instead it says Health of Black, as they celebrate being new champions. AEW World Women's Championship match, as Jamie Hayter, I hardly know her, am I right? Takes on Saraya and Ruby Soho. We get a double suplex, I almost said a double suplex clothesline combination by Jamie Hayter. This match was a little fast. Not a lot happened. I felt like it's sort of cucking the very talented women's division. I didn't even get to write down a whole bunch of notes on this match in particular. And I'm not really sure what it is that AEW was thinking with this particular contest. It's kind of like, hey, we'll give you a great match, this great 3-on-3 right here, and then after that, boom, we're just going to send almost like a squash match, but it's not exactly a squash match, but it's going to look like it's a squash match after that. Because Jamie Hayter, of course, I was expecting her to win, yes, but because this is like her first, I think, title defense, maybe her second title defense, they never really bring it up. Don't know why. Sounds like relevant information to me, but the one thing that they do correctly, I suppose you could say, is kind of put the women on a platform where they belong and to showcase their skills. By the end of this match, Toni Storm gets into the ring, I think it is. I don't know how to put it, but it's almost like cucking the women's division, It's almost like, yeah, we know how talented you ladies are, but listen, we're just going to give you 5 minutes, just go in there. And, I thought that there was supposed to be somewhat of a woman's revolution, and I was really saddened to see that the TBS championship was not defended on this night as well. So, we didn't get to see Jade Cargill, defend her championship, which kind of sucked. After the bell rings, Toni Storm gets into the match, and she started beating on the champion, Jamie Hayter. And almost like WWE is staying relevant through AEW's eyes, they took 3 of these women who were originally from WWE, and it looks to be the start of a group. Saraya, previously known as Paige in the WWE, Toni Storm, previously known as Toni Storm in the WWE, and Ruby Soho, who was previously known as Ruby Riott in the WWE. It seems that they are forming a faction, a trio of some sort. On commentary, they say it's not like Ruby's an original here in AEW. And it looks to me like they're doing the whole Outsiders storyline that Kevin Nash and Scott Hall did back in the day. Because collectively they were known as the Outsiders, and then they became the NWO, New World Order. Hangman Adam Page versus Jon Moxley in a Texas death match, despite them being in San Francisco. Adam Page using a barbed wire to possibly try to draw blood from Jon Moxley. This is a scary situation because people always react one of 2 ways whenever they see their own blood. Sometimes they panic, they start to run, and sometimes when they see red, they see their own blood, they feel as though that they have no choice but to stand and fight. Hangman Adam Page, and he starts to gush blood. It gets all over Jon Moxley because Moxley's got this fork, right? He kept a fork in his boot, I think it was, and he just starts gouging almost like at the forehead of Adam Page, does Jon Moxley. And we get the crowd who is chanting, "You sick fuck," and "This is awesome." Jon Moxley goes under the ring, and he comes out with 2 bricks and a rusty iron chain. They keep calling it a steel chain, but I don't think it's a steel chain. It looks to be a rusty iron, chain. Little did he know that would be his demise. Jon Moxley does a pile driver onto a rusty chain, onto the rusty iron chain. Off the turnbuckle, Jon Moxley sent Hangman Adam Page careening toward the tabletop that has barbed wire laying on it that he previously set up earlier. It was elevated by 2 steel chairs. Kind of fun to see things come full circle. Jon Moxley pulls one of those bricks that I previously mentioned. He goes out from under the ring, that he pulled out from under the ring in a very precarious position. Then he does a running curb stomp onto Hangman Adam Page. Only the real ones know, but I guess I better explain it. Moxley was previously in a group of 3 men known collectively as the Shield. One man out of that group did a move called the curb stomp, and in doing so, Jon Moxley paid homage to the Shield, to his Shield brethren in Seth frickin' Rollins. And I've been told before, I hate the frickin' in Seth frickin' Rollins. Well, you know something? Get over it. You know why? Because that's his name now, and you're going to have to live with it. And not only that, but also Adam Cole recently tweeted that he put the D in DMD. So, you're going to have to get over that part too. Adam Page wraps the chain around Jon Moxley's neck. It says Nick on my notes, but I don't know anybody named Nick. And he uses him as an anchor for a pulley system. He's got Jon Moxley's neck wrapped around a chain, and he's on the other end of that chain. Hangman Adam Page is literally hanging Jon Moxley out to dry, quite literally, over the ring ropes. Jon Moxley taps out, and I gave this match 4.5 out of 5 stars. Was very entertaining, quite a beautiful contest, told a beautiful story, and I'm not the only one who thought so, because the crowd in attendance, the fans, seem to also enjoy it, judging by their passionate cries and their passionate chanting of "Fight Forever." Wardlow is mad that Samoa Joe took his ponytail. With a promo package, you're hearing a lot of Wardlow say Samoa Joe took from him the one thing in this world that was precious to him, and giving a lot of intense looks at the camera. I'm not really sure the story, I guess, why Wardlow's ponytail is so special, but makes it out to be somewhat of a symbolic, super special thing that makes him wake up in the morning and go to work. My point is, it seems to be rushed, and also seems to be poor storytelling on the part of either Wardlow or, for that matter, AEW. Wardlow also says that at Revolution, I'm going to kill you, which is funny. It's funny to me that Wardlow says that he's going to kill Samoa Joe, because obviously we all know why. And if you don't know, Samoa Joe has been wrestling for maybe 35 years, maybe 32, 35 years. And in most of his matches, the crowd tends to chant, "Joe is gonna kill you. Joe is gonna kill you." So whenever someone says that they're gonna kill Samoa Joe, I laugh, because it's ironic. Wardlow versus Samoa Joe for the TNT Championship. Not a whole lot happens in this contest. It's maybe 5 minutes, maybe 7 minutes if you're lucky. The damn shame is everyone who's in the main event or somewhere else gets more TV time. In a way, you can see that AEW has some backstage politics. Ooh, backstage politics brewing in AEW. It's kind of like, hey, Jamie Hayter, you don't care to cut like 5 minutes of your all's match, right? Because we need it for the TNT Championship match. Matter of fact, TNT Championship match, you don't care to cut like 5 minutes because we're going to need it for the Trios Tag Team Championships. You know, you can almost smell the politics. It was good for what it was, which was a great wrestling contest, and it didn't really tell that much of a good story. I'm going to have to give this one, even though it was really entertaining, a 3 out of 5 stars. Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett versus the Acclaimed, the former champions, the Acclaimed, versus the Guns. Now, before we begin, I would first like to say, why can't we just get the Guns versus the Acclaimed? Because they deserve a one-on-one title rematch. That's what I think. But nonetheless, I digress. I just got done talking about how much that I hate fucking multi-man matches, and this is exactly what I mean. 4 teams, right? Try to keep up with me. 2 people on each team, and the rules are very simple. It's almost like a 4 corners match in the tradition that you can, a tag team 4 corners match rather. You can tag in whoever you want. It's so you just look up the rules of a tag team 4 corners match, and I'm sure you'll find what I'm talking about. Since the last pay-per-view that we watched of AEW, the Acclaimed has lost their AEW Tag Team Championships. It's an interesting choice by the AEW management, but I wouldn't have let that happen. The Acclaimed about to go open in San Francisco. We're about to go Oakland light green, like Golden State. They're going to give golden showers. Ass boys got the belts. They know it's ours. You know they're the weakest champs, looking like a single man in those Cheetos pants. God damn it. You're some a-holes with some B talent. Hey Jeff, you forgot your Cialis. So they basically came out and roasted almost every team except for Orange Cassidy and Danhausen, because they don't have a beef with Orange Cassidy or Danhausen. And honestly, Cassidy and Hausen were probably in this match simply to be jobbers or for a comedy. I know their names are the Guns. Okay, so let's address the elephant in the room and tell the elephant to leave the room. I know their names are the Guns, but why couldn't they not try to rip off Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, who are the Motor City Machine Guns and are collectively known as, sometimes referred to as, the Guns? Which, by the way, the Motor City Machine Guns have worked in AEW before. Orange Cassidy, with a wind-up punch, starts in the center of the ring, but doesn't get to Jay Lethal in the corner until Danhausen gets off three lariats in on Jay Lethal. Already an entertaining start to this match, as Orange Cassidy mocks Jeff Jarrett doing the strut. We get an asshole chant, which is pretty funny considering that Colton Gunn and Austin Gunn are in this match, and they are the A-boys, the ass boys, I should say. A lot to unpack here, as Danhausen puts a curse on Satnam Singh in the middle of the ring. Sanjay Dutt tries to intervene, but Danhausen breaks his pencil and sends him out of the ring. When Sanjay leaves the ring, Danhausen low blows to Satnam Singh. Orange Cassidy with the orange punch, a variation of Roman Reigns' super punch. Superman punch, rather. And out of out of nowhere comes Billy Gunn and he hits Satnam Singh with the Famouser. A little bit of inconsistency comes into play here, or the beginning of the match. They ended up saying anything goes, as if there were no rules. In some cases, in this multi-man match, such as a triple threat or a fatal four-way, it would make no sense to, like, disqualify one team because the other team decided, because you're not in control of what other people do. So at the beginning of the match, they do end up saying, hey, this is no rules, but yet they proceed to follow the regular rules of a tag team wrestling match, not treating this as though that it were an actual, slugfest. Like I said, inconsistency with Double J, Jeff Jarrett, Trusta Garnish, and Guitar. Oh, yeah. So, for whatever reason, Double J, Jeff Jarrett brought in a guitar, and whenever he brought in the guitar, that one was for you, Brandon. Guitar. Whenever he brought in the guitar, what ended up happening was Aubrey Edwards took it from him and decided that it was a good idea to throw it out of the ring. Just, no, you're not going to use a foreign object in my match, despite the fact that it's no disqualification. Aubrey Edwards had no right to take the guitar away from Double J. The Guns retained the titles. In a way, that match that really won, it protects all teams. Oh yeah, it protects all the teams because I don't want to say this, but the joke of a team in Orange Cassidy and Danhausen ended up losing. Technically, they were the ones to get the pin, not like anyone who would want to, like, preferably lose. The funny part, and the really funny part about this, is the champions are, the champions are the Guns, and Billy Gunn, who is their father. They don't even have their own father's support because their father would rather play Scissor Me Daddy Ass with the Acclaimed, which is the opposing team, Okay, so that brings us to the main event. I'm trying to figure out where the fuck I wrote it down at. Oh, okay. So the promo package plays, and it seems as though that MJF has been watching my YouTube channel, because let me unpack some luggage for you guys. Let me paint you a picture. Has been watching my YouTube channel. MJF is a good heel. He's a great bad guy for a reason, and he gives for hating Bryan were almost similar to the beginning reasons that I grew to hate Daniel Bryan. But then I had to learn not to be petty and not to hate him because I'm jealous of him. And I knew, and honestly, this is me, Mocha, speaking from the heart. Just have to read it off my notes because, I don't exactly know what I said here. Jealous of him, that comes out to all of you listeners or the fans. I hated Bryan for some of these reasons that, MJF gives, because some people called him the best in the world, which is a prestigious title that shouldn't be given to someone that looks like a rat with chemotherapy, or, as I used to call him before, a Duck Dynasty reject. At the same time, I would call Bryan a Duck Dynasty reject and make fun of him for having a child and a wife, much like I make fun of Brandon for, because to me that's not success. That's I mean, what are you going to do whenever this child grows up and finds out how much of a failure you are? How much you failed to do nothing with your channel? Think about it. I'm growing at an expanding rate, Brandon. So the next time you talk down to me, you little buck-toothed bastard, you better realize who you're talking to. Okay? Are we on the same page? Do you hear me? I should make a Scott Steiner reference. Holler if you hear me. And then start playing sirens just into my microphone. No, I'm not going to do that. But that's not the point. The point is, you buck-toothed bastard, you're going to make fun of me? Do you know who I am? Like I said, I'm forever growing. I've already got my own clothing line. I'm writing a book, which you seem to enjoy. How are you going to feel whenever you're reading my book and reviewing it on your podcast? How are you going to feel then? How are you going to feel whenever I'm giving away $200 to somebody that's not you? Or whenever I'm giving away $400 the week after that? Or $800 the week after that? Or $1,600 the week after that? Or maybe, just maybe, I'll go that much further, Brandon. And I'll give away $3,200 or even $6,400 to someone that's not you, to someone who can actually use it, aside from someone who has a child and someone who lives in the backwoods of Ohio? Is that what you said? 10 minutes from Cincinnati? Like that's something to be proud of? Dude, I live like 8 minutes from Bluefield, Virginia. It's literally a walk, a skip, and a hop away. I go there a lot for the Food City. Value, everyday, Food City. See, you just can't escape the ads, guys. I'm telling you. Anyway, back to what I was saying. I used to call him a Duck Dynasty reject and make fun of him for having a child and a wife. Everything else that WWE told me, including an episode of NXT back whenever it was a reality competition and less of a brand building a brand that was trying to build superstars. They talked about the fact that apparently Brian didn't own a TV growing up. I'm not sure why that was relevant to them, but it was. And I would always make fun of him because the one thing that he stopped doing, those fucking yes chants. So I would always praise him for that. I don't know why it says I would always make fun of him for it, but I would always make fun of him for doing those fucking yes chants, basically. And then whenever he stopped doing those yes chants, I was extremely happy, and I was glad that he was listening to me, or at least somewhat, like. But don't worry, that changes here in just a minute. And his overusage of the I pronoun. So if you go back, I'm going to give you guys a challenge, alright? If you go back to a certain TV show, or a YouTube show rather, called Talking Smack, which Brian used to co-host with, what's her name? Renee Young? Yeah. Brian used to co-host with Renee, and whenever he would always avoid her questions, and for that matter, he would always find a way to almost like talk about himself. How self-centered are you, Brian? Because there was one time wherever I went ahead and watched a whole hour, listened rather to a whole hour, because, I mean, you really can't watch it, but listen to a whole hour of nothing but him saying the pronoun I, and I know that you, the listener right now, can't see me, but I'm pointing to my eye right now. I, I. So Brian, whenever he would say that, it would make me think that he's some sort of pirate or something. I didn't understand it. One time, though, I took a piece of pencil, piece of notebook paper, took a pen, whatever it is, and I wrote down a tally mark every time that I heard him say the word I, or the pronoun rather, I. And I remember I had a notebook full, front to back, 259 I's. Even though Renee barely asked him a question. Hey, Brian, what would you do if you were put in that situation? Something like that. Brian never got asked a question like that. And that was just from one episode. It was like 259 I's. And it was so annoying. But nonetheless, whenever Brian moved to AEW, I thought, shit, got him now. Because he's no longer got his daddy to protect him. I thought for sure he's going to get cooked in AEW. His career is over, man. But you know what? It happened. I actually started to like him. And I was wrong about him. I had to take back all of the hurtful things that I'd said about him, and I felt bad. I really did. I know that I'm saying I right now like a lot, but I'm justified because I'm giving my feelings. It's almost like someone asked me a question, asked me for my response, and I'm giving it. It's not something that wasn't anticipated, unlike what Brian was doing to Renee, or Renee was doing to Brian, because Renee would just ask a question, and sometimes it would be a question directed toward Carmella, and instead of Carmella answering the question, Brian would say, I had tuna for lunch, and it's like, who the fuck cares? Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. I was wrong about Brian. See? Like water off a duck's back. I'm not even mad about it. I'm not even petty. I'm not like, I wasn't wrong, you were wrong, It's not about that. It's about swallowing your pride and learning that sometimes you're wrong. It's the human experience. It's crazy, I know. But anyway, MJF calls himself the devil, comes out looking like a creature from Japanese folklore that I know as the Animaru. And he has an entire orchestra come out and play the beginning notes of his theme song, perhaps before the match begins, trying to get into the head of the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. MJF mocking Bryan's yes chants. He's so popular for... Okay, yes. Mocking Bryan's yes chants that he's so popular for. What a rally back and forth between these two athletes. These two competitors. Beautiful stalemate. I thought that said soulmate, and I don't know why. As they meet in the center of the ring, look at each other in the eyes, neither man giving an inch. MJF goes to the crowd and throws water onto a fan's child. MJF is talking smack to one of the cameras. So if you don't know, one of the critics who are always in MJF's inbox, if you will, maybe. His name is Dave Meltzer, and I'm pretty sure I've talked about him before, once or twice, but if you care so heavily about Dave Meltzer's opinion, by the way, you've come to the wrong show. I'm not here to talk about Dave Meltzer. I'm not here to make him relevant. For that matter, I could care less about the dumbass's opinion, or for that matter, Brian, what's his name? Alvarez? Yeah. Brian Alvarez, I could give two shits about his opinion either. He's talking to Dave Meltzer as he's talking into the camera, and the Wrestling Observer, he says, "Oh no, is that going to cost me a star, Dave? Maybe I won't get the Bryan Danielson award." Powerbomb from the top of the turnbuckle from Danielson onto MJF. MJF in the center of the ring mocking Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels, who was the person who trained Bryan Danielson to be, because just like Johnny Gargano that we talked about last week, Shawn Michaels' wrestling school in Texas, I think it's called the Heartbreak Wrestling School. Johnny and Bryan were both in the same class. What a heel. What a heel of a man. Such a tremendous character that that's not his name. Maxwell Jacob Friedman plays so well. I'm not sure why it has Michael here. His name is Maxwell. They maybe broke the world record for the most attempts at a near fall in one wrestling match, because what a rally they had. It was almost like a back and a forth, and a code red into like a small package, into a schoolboy, into a backslide, into a another code red, into a roll up, into another schoolboy, another backslide, another just tremendous back and forth between these two. And did I mention this is a 60-minute Iron Man match? I forgot to say that this is not a one-on-one competition where someone gets a pinfall, someone gets a submission victory, they win. It's cut and dry just like that. No, this is a 60-minute competition to see who can win the most falls out of an hour-long competition. Bryan Danielson has scored the first fall via pinfall. MJF gets two back-to-back falls immediately and then gets disqualified from a low blow, making the score tied 2-2. Or as they say in tennis, 2-love. Beautiful elbow drop from MJF to Bryan. He puts him through a table whenever he does it, off the top turnbuckle. MJF tombstones Bryan through a table that he, as I previously mentioned, there's still parts of the table that are like up, and MJF gets up, tombstones Bryan through the parts that are still standing, that he already drove the elbow through the heart of Bryan, and afterwards he gets a 3-2 lead. MJF talking to Danielson during the match, saying, "You're the best in the world, huh? You're the best in the world, huh, kid?" And then he says, "Well, you fucking suck." And then, after that, Bryan ends up tying the match, or Danielson, rather, ends up tying the match 3-3. MJF hits an avalanche tombstone power driver, which is a beautiful move that we don't get to see. Just like I said last week, the avalanche Spanish fly, you don't see that. You've probably never seen that before in your entire life, but somehow Io Shirai's done 2 of them to Candice LeRae. See, Mid-South Wrestling, tell me, Brandon, when's the last time that they hit any avalanche moves? I'm just curious, Like you said, there were a few rules back then, right? You can't climb the turnbuckle. And not to make fun of you or anything, but you always sound like you're sleepy or drowsy whenever you're doing your... Like, where's your excitement? Where's your passion? Are you just doing this for your free time? You know? Oh, I got nothing better to do, so may as well just record a podcast. And then you're just like... Oh, yeah, and then Bill Watts sent out the troops to almost... and then Bill Watts and the Junkyard Dog had a segment, and there was an interview. And let me play the clip while I take a little nap, because that's what you sound like. Like I said, no disrespect, just criticism. You can take criticism, right, Brandon? Now you see why he won Booker and Promoter of the Year 3 years in a row. WWE cannot compete with anything that AEW does, plain and simple. And if Brandon wants to compete with me, he's going to have to step up his game. And he compared himself to WWE and compared me to AEW. I take that as a compliment, actually, because AEW is doing great. They're doing fan-fucking-tastic. According to the numbers, it was 3 or 4 weeks ago that Jericho reported, and also your precious Brian Alvarez, if you listen to anything that he says, even though he's been caught up in lies before, but they reported that an episode of Dynamite got an estimated 8.8 billion views, which is probably a lot more than WWE can even get nowadays. Now you see why Tony Khan won the Booker and Promoter of the Year 3 years in a row. WWE cannot compete with anything that AEW does, plain and simple. WWE is the World Wrestling Entertainment, keyword entertainment. That's why they make a lot of movies, that's why they sell a lot of books, that's why they do a lot of merchandise. That's why they have, like, kids shows for the WWE Network, like WWE Camp and WWE, whatever it was, Slam City, and they also got the toys and, the colorful merchandise and the John Cena looks like a purple dinosaur. John Cena's a movie maker. He does make... Well, I already said that, but, he's been on the Jimmy Kimmel show 5 or 6 times because they're milking him like he's a cash cow. Because they want John Cena to be the man that's like, yay, 16-time world champion, John Cena. Doesn't it seem a little fast that he won all those? As a matter of fact, let's go ahead and talk about that controversy too. Ric Flair has won more than 16 titles, believe it or not. They're just counting the 16 titles that he won in WWE. Believe it or not, Ric Flair, there is no official count on how many world championships that he's won. If someone wants to go back and count, be my guest. Go ahead. But I bet you money that I'm giving away next week that it's more than 16. Probably 30. Probably 40. Ric Flair is a decorated champion. But they're just counting the ones that he's won on television in WWE. They want you to forget about everything else because everything else doesn't exist outside of WWE. That's the little bubble that they live in. But anyway, back to what I was saying. 5 out of 5 stars. Beautiful story was told here. MJF hit Bryan Danielson with an oxygen tank to knock him out and applied his own finishing maneuver. Bryan on finishing maneuver onto Danielson then the amount of disrespect starts to show. Someone taps out to their own finishing maneuver. The fact that I am MJF disrespects so many people during this match. Yes, so he does disrespect so many people during this match. He disrespects Dave Meltzer, disrespects Shawn Michaels, the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson. He disrespects all of the fans in attendance by flipping them off multiple times, including the child that he threw a drink onto. He made it all clear that he does not like Bryan, even though he didn't really have a legitimate reason not to like Bryan. At least that's what I think. The match wouldn't end here, however. Tony Schiavone would be given a announcement to make. Tony Schiavone would be given an announcement to make while he was sitting on the commentator's table, and Schiavone came out and he basically said that Tony Khan said that he does not want this match to end in a draw because they were tied 3-3 if I remember correctly, and they went to a sudden death round. The next person to get the fall picks up the victory, and as I stated, the amount of disrespect is really, really starting to show because MJF put Bryan in his own, he put Danielson in his own finishing maneuver. What they call the label lock, I think looks a lot like the crossface, but for some reason we're not allowed to say that. Yeah. Figures I would say what we're not allowed to say. Because I'm not afraid to go there. Unlike some people. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that was AEW Revolution. It got 2 5-star matches. It got me to milk it for 2 5-star matches. And yes, I did say Malachi Black, and I didn't make a reference to the fact that, oh man, I hope my computer doesn't explode. Hurt. Mostly because I made that joke whenever he was Aleister Black. Oh man, I said it again. I mean whenever he was A Black, so I'm not going to, like, that's just disrespectful and almost like milking a cash cow at this point. I've been your cash cow. Tune in next week to see what happens next and to see who wins the $200. Remember, there's going to be a word or a phrase that I'm going to say 3 times throughout the episode, and if you are paying attention, then you know what I know, that I'm giving away money next week. Thank you all so much for joining me. I'm Mocha. You're not. You should be jealous. Oh, and one other thing before I go. Good night. And that's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Good night, everybody.